everyone, welcome back to the channel, or I guess welcome to the channel if this is your first time here hanging out with me. This video here today is going to be my 20-week update for pregnancy, or bump date. I guess technically I'm almost 21 weeks. Tomorrow I'll be 21 weeks, but it's my third child and it's really hard to sit down and make these videos. But I've been enjoying making these pregnancy updates. It's given me something kind of like to look forward to and to help kind of with the countdown. I'll be honest, I can't wait until I'm holding her outside of my body, because pregnancy is hard, and this pregnancy in particular has been extremely hard. Honestly, I feel like there's so much that I could talk about in this video, and I don't want it to go on forever. So I'm going to try and be kind of succinct with the things that I have to say, but there are some definite things that I would like to cover for this 20-week update. It's been kind of a doozy lately. So first I'll just talk about how I'm feeling, pregnant, and I don't really like being pregnant that much. Very grateful for my babies, and I can't wait to have this baby girl. I'm thankful, but I'm not one of those people that enjoys being pregnant. I am having like a lot of, there's an increase in that hormone relaxin. So like your joints and everything kind of relaxes. And so I'm really feeling that lately in like my hips and my pelvis and my lower back. Everything just feels almost unstable. Being that I have a history of the spinal cord injury, at baseline I already have some back problems. This is definitely exacerbating that. And so I would say that these last couple of weeks, that's been a big symptom that I've been having with this pregnancy. Also, I've been having a lot of headaches almost daily, probably 5 or 6 days a week I have a headache. And so I have been trying to take magnesium daily. I think it's helping. I don't know, a little bit. It seems like it's helping, or at least taking the edge off. I am definitely feeling the baby kick now, which is really fun, and that is like my favorite part of pregnancy. Only ever so often can I feel from the outside of my belly. She's still small, but I can feel her all the time, like inside, kicking around and moving around, and so that's been really cool. So we did have our anatomy scan, and baby was measuring beautifully. She looks wonderful. She was very, very active on the screen. We could see her like drinking the amniotic fluid, and she kept putting her hands to her face. And so that was really cool. I'll have to put some pictures up here on the screen. Our ultrasound tech was in a really good mood that day and took like so many pictures and really just took her time with us. And we got to see baby girl for quite some time. And she looked, I'm biased, I realize, but I think she looks super cute. And it was very uplifting, being that this pregnancy has been so hard. So after my anatomy scan with ultrasound tech, I met with the OB doctor, and this was actually the first time that I had got to meet with the doctor. I had been seeing the nurse practitioner up until this point, and she was awesome. I really liked her a lot. Very thorough, very compassionate, great bedside manner. So this was the first time I had actually got to sit down with the OB doctor though, and I had gone in there with a few questions that I had been saving for him. I mean, he's been practicing for 30 plus years, and I really wanted his expert opinion. And actually, a little side note, I know him personally on a business level, I suppose you could say. Working as a nurse practitioner, I knew him like as not a colleague, we didn't work in the same office, but I knew him like on a personal level, and we were always very cordial and friendly. And so I was excited to see him as a patient, and I just kind of had these expectations going into this appointment that I would get my questions answered and that he would be kind. And honestly, the visit I had with him, I would probably say was one of the worst bedside manner experiences that I've ever had with a provider of any kind. And I've seen a lot of doctors in my past. I mean, I've had a few bad encounters, and this was up there with one of the worst. It was really just disheartening. So a little backstory, this is my third baby. It will be a C-section. I had 2 C-sections prior to this. They never even wanted me to have a natural birth, being that I have a spinal cord injury, and that they thought that like getting in the lithotomy position and pushing would be hard on my back and just not conducive with my history. And so they always just said I had to have a C-section. And so this will be my third C-section. After my second baby, I did have double hernia, and I had very significant separation of my abdominal wall. Like, yay. And it was really, really separated. And so I had that repaired. I had my abdominal wall put back together, and I had the double hernia repaired with mesh. And so I've had the 2 cesareans and then that abdominal surgery. Going into this C-section, I find myself extremely anxious with the procedure. I've never felt nervous with my previous C-sections and that nervous about that. Anyway, I had other anxieties, but I was never nervous about the C-section itself. And in this particular circumstance, I have a lot of anxiety because I do know that, with repeat surgeries, there's an increased risk of different things. I also know that going into the C-section, I want to have my tubes tied. I know that this is my last baby, and so I just had some questions regarding like the risk with my history and the tubal ligation and what my options are there. When I had gone in to speak with the doctor, said basically what I just told you guys, is that I have a lot of anxiety regarding the C-section with my past surgery history. Can you just tell me about the risk? And he was just very cold and callous in his response. And he was just like,
yeah, there is a very big risk for you.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. And so I'm just, I guess I'm looking for reassurance, or I wanted to hear more about what we could do, if there is anything we can do to mitigate any of that risks. And he's like,
no, you're at a risk, and good thing you're getting your tubes tied so we don't end up here again.
And I was like, okay. And then I actually said to him, I was like, really all I'm trying to say is that I want to make it off the table alive, whatever that means. I'm young and I want to be here for my kids. And he's just like,
yeah, but it's really risky. No promises.
I just felt like, well, crap. Trust me, I understand being honest with your patients, even if the answer isn't the most comfortable answer, right? Like, I understand that you need to be honest with your patients. I am a provider. I know I'm not a physician. I'm not saying I'm the same as a doctor, but I have been on the side of the provider, and I understand the importance of giving accurate information and being honest with your patient. But the way that he was answering my questions and kind of presenting the information, he was offering me no hope, no comfort. When you're already feeling anxious and vulnerable, very disheartening. You're hoping to hear something like,
yes, there is risk, but of course we'll do everything to protect you and your baby.
Anything to add some kind of layer of comfort. And I got none of that. And I was really, really reaching out for some kind of reassurance that at least he cared, or he would try to help me get off the table alive. And he was looking at me, I felt like basically a bag of meat on a table, and it didn't matter to him whether or not I lived or died. It's just scary because you are vulnerable when you're on that table. You really put your life in their hands, literally. You're strapped onto this table. I want him to care if I live or die, and I just didn't feel like he did at all. And so that I was just like, okay, anyway, like I just wanted to change the topic because I was getting very nervous and I was trying to stop myself. I didn't want to cry, basically. I did cry in the car after, but I did not cry in the office. And then I kind of went on to ask him questions about the tubal ligation, and I had been told different things about having the tubes removed versus cauterized or tying the tubes. And I just kind of wanted to know what would be best, what would be the lowest risk for me. And just me asking the question, I just could tell that I just ticked him off. Like, whatever he was going to do was what he was going to do. He said something about
these newer generations taking out the tubes, but if he's doing it on his table, then he's going to stick to the method that he knows.
It was I was very patronizing and condescending the way he responded. Like, I wasn't even supposed to ask. He was going to do what he did, and I was just supposed to just accept whatever it was. So I left there feeling so anxious. I couldn't really even say anything. I was feeling just really overwhelmed. I went into my car and I just cried. For the obvious reason, I want to live. I have babies that I love that need me. I want to raise this baby in my belly. I've moved on a little bit, and I'm trying to just stay positive because it does me no good to dwell on the what ifs that could happen in the future. And I'm really trying to think positively because I do believe in the power of your mind and positive thinking. And I don't want to go into this procedure thinking the worst. I want to go in believing that I will be okay and that my baby will be okay, that everything will work out the way that it's supposed to. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I definitely have some doubt now. I'm going to try to avoid scheduling with him ever again. The thing is, when I go in for my cesarean, I don't necessarily know who will be there to do the surgery. I could schedule my cesarean, but if I go in, before, like if I go into labor naturally and I have to get it, it's kind of whoever is on staff at that time. Like with my previous C-sections, both times, I went into labor naturally at 38 weeks and I didn't know the surgeon either time. So, it's definitely possible that he could be the one performing my cesarean, and that just doesn't make me feel great. I feel like he's the type that's like, he's ready to go play some golf. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to slow his day down, and if I die, I die. And that sounds horribly morbid, but he's been doing it a long time. He probably should retire at this point. I just went in thinking that it was going to be this great visit because I know him personally. We've always been so cool with each other, and it was awful. And I honestly don't even know if he recognized me as a patient and knowing me like professionally. Not that it makes it okay. Like, if this is how he treats his patients, like, shame on him. I do plan on leaving some sort of review. I think I might wait until I'm like done with this pregnancy, but I am going to leave some sort of review or say something because he really needs to check himself. I mean, this is not the place to act like that. It's just like such a vulnerable place when you're pregnant, and the way that he treated me was just awful. I'm also considering even changing offices, and we'll see. I mean, I'm going to go meet with this next female OB-GYN and see how it goes. God forbid it's a bad experience, then I will possibly change offices. I got a bunch of recommendations from some friends of mine, so we'll see. And then the other thing that I was going to talk about with you guys was that I ended up in the hospital. I've already been in the hospital a couple times with this pregnancy, and if I could stay out of the hospital now until I have her would be wonderful. Trigger warning, this could be a little TMI. If you don't like to hear about body parts, then don't listen. But the day after my anatomy scan, I experienced a couple episodes of like pre-syncope where I got really, really hot, sweaty, started to kind of get like tunnel vision, and thought I was going to pass out. Never actually lost consciousness. And I do know that this can be, a side effect of pregnancy, because basically your vessels dilate, you're not perfusing to the brain as much, essentially, and you can get this like dizziness, lightheadedness. And so I didn't think too much of it. But then later on in the evening, I had some bright red bleeding. And I have not experienced that this pregnancy. I have had some spotting, which I talked about previously, but it was never like this. This was bleeding and it was bright red. And so I got really scared that something was really wrong. And so I knew that I had to go in and get checked. And so I called the on-call doctor, and it happened to be this gentleman that I had seen the day before that was really rude to me. And when I was on the phone with him, no idea who I was, which I'm like, didn't you pull up my chart or anything? He's like,
oh yeah, I saw you last week and you're 12 weeks pregnant?
I'm like, no, I saw you yesterday and I'm 20 weeks pregnant. Like, did you not pull up my chart? Because when you call the on-call doctor, first you talk to an operator and you tell him all of your information, exactly what's going on with you, and then they give the message to the doctor and the doctor calls you back. So like, you would think he would have pulled up something and known who he was talking to. He had no idea who he was talking to. I told him, like, look, I've been having these episodes for 24 hours now where I feel like I'm going to pass out, and now I have bright red bleeding. I'm going to the hospital regardless. I just wanted to let you know. So my husband took me to the hospital, and long story short, the baby was fine. I was not having contractions. My cervix was closed. Baby was moving around. She was moving around the whole time, so that made me feel good. But I was worried again, like it was something like maybe like a partial placental abruption or something. I had no idea what was going on. And that was not the case. And so then they're like, maybe it's like coincidental that you're having the bleeding, because they again attribute it to like a polyp. They think there's some sort of polyp that's causing me to have this bleeding. So they said maybe it's coincidental that they coincided with the pre-syncope and the bleeding. We actually want to send you to the ER to make sure nothing is going on with the almost passing out. So I got cleared at labor and delivery after a couple hours there. They gave me fluids and I was sent to the ER. They did an EKG and they wanted to do an echo because they wanted to make sure that it wasn't cardiac in nature. So I ended up having to stay the night, basically. It was awful. I don't recommend it if you don't have to go to the ER. I used to work in the ER for years. I'm well aware, but they were really busy and the beds are awful. All you want to do is sleep. Especially being pregnant, I just wanted to sleep, and you can't, because I literally had 4 doctors come in like within every 30-45 minutes and ask me the exact same questions. and there was just no sleeping at all. And honestly, like I said, I wouldn't have even gone to the hospital had it not been with that bright red bleeding, but I was really worried. I wanted to go home, but I also wanted to be a good patient, and I know that they were trying to do what was best for me. So I had to stay the next day and get an echo done the following day. And actually, I don't even know the results of that yet. This is a couple days later now. And when the rounding doctor came in after the echo, she's like, look, you have two options. You could stay one more night and see cardiology tomorrow, and they'll go over results with you and go from there. Or two, you could go home and I'll call you tomorrow with the echo results. I was like, well, please let me go home. And then the next day I never heard from anybody about my echo results. And then the following day I tried to call up there, and it was a joke because I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Being a patient is very frustrating. I'm just going to tell you, it's not fun being on this side of things. I think on Monday I will call my primary care and see if she has access, just to see that the echo came back okay, because at this moment I don't know, but I don't think it's cardiac related. I think it's probably pregnancy related. It's been a trip, you guys. I'm hoping, knock on wood, hope for me, that I don't have to go to the hospital again until I deliver. I'm also hoping that that male OB is not the one that does my cesarean, that it's somebody that's qualified and competent, but also that cares and is going to do whatever to make sure that I'm okay and the baby's okay, because I really want to be around for a while with my kids. Yeah, so I'm just battling some anxiety now more than before because of everything that's going on, but I'm also trying really hard to stay positive. So we'll see how it goes. I think that's going to be all though for the update. Even still, with trying to keep it short, it was really long. If you stuck around to the end, thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, I was going to say, if you have any experience with this, if you've had multiple C-sections and you lived to tell the tale, I could just use any positive stories, positive advice, nothing negative, nothing to scare me anymore, because it does me no good at this point. I'm pregnant, I'm here now, she's got to come out some way or another. And so if you have any uplifting words to share, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. You know what, before I go, I have never shown my bump, and I'm just starting to actually get one. It's so weird. I'm carrying so differently this pregnancy. By this point in my other pregnancies, I looked very pregnant, and this one, it's weird. I look wider than I do, like, I'm going to show you. Maybe I have to scooch it back. Oh, God. So, with my shirt on, you really can't tell. Not the same as my previous pregnancies. I feel like I still look like I just ate too many cheeseburgers, which is kind of unfortunate because I feel really pregnant, so I wish people knew I was pregnant, but no one really guesses that I'm pregnant yet. They just think I ate too much lunch. But okay, now I really think that's going to be it. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye, guys.